All right, so we are officially going to get started. And, you know, I do these classes for MPGA and we go live. And whether it's one of our coaches who teaches in the academy or it's myself, but we train on the mindset. We train on mental skills and the importance of mental skills. For many of you who are familiar with our work, we really focus on three things. Every athlete can train three things: craft, body, and mind. And what does that mean? So craft means your technique, right? So all of you who are golfers, or if you're parents of junior golfers or coaches, we know how important the technique and the physicality of having good mechanics is to playing great golf. That's the foundation, right? But that's not the only thing that makes a golfer great. The second piece is the body. This day and age, training your body is just as important as training your craft. And many of you know how important it is to train your body and work on your physical muscles and skills so that you can be able to compete at the highest level possible. You're working out in the gym, you're stretching, you're doing all these things to be able to be as flexible, nimble, and to get as much speed as you can in your swing. But the last thing, and I feel the most important thing, is the mind. This right here, your brain, is a muscle that can be trained. Believe it or not, confidence, and whether you feel confident or not, is a mental skill, and it's trainable. Now, resilience and bouncing back after you make a mistake, everyone's going to make a mistake, but you being able to bounce back, that's a mental skill, and that's trainable. You just have to know how to train it. Just like your technique, just like your body when you go to the gym, your mental game is trainable. Now, there's two parts to sports psychology. The first part to sports psychology is self-discovery, being able to discover and unlock things that are deep within you that you didn't even know about. Let me give you an example. When I ask you, who are you during difficult moments and challenging times? How do you show up when you hit roadblocks and struggle? What are some of your core values that guide you through challenges and uncertainty? What are those values? You might have an idea of what they are, right? You might show up and there are certain people that you gravitate towards, but why? Why do you gravitate towards those people? Why do you do some of the things that you do when things are oftentimes automatic? These are the deeper questions of self-discovery. The second piece to sports psychology and mental training is sets and reps. What do I mean by sets and reps? Repetition and putting in your time in sets. Basically, you got to learn principles and skills and practice them and do them on a routinely basis, just like you go and show up at the gym. Now, we talk about mental training being just like physical training. If I wanted to get strong, right? And if I wanted to get a six-pack on my stomach, let's say I get a personal trainer and I start working with them. I don't expect myself, even if I put 2.5 hours in the gym just working on my abs, I don't expect myself the next day to wake up and look in the mirror and think that I'm going to have a six-pack overnight. I know that. The expectation's there that I know I'm not going to have a six-pack overnight. I know it's going to take time. I know it's going to take consistency, and I have to work for it. I have to put my time, my sets, and my reps in, right? Well, the brain, mental training, you also have to show up consistently and wrestle with self-discovery and mental training. You put those together and you have a complete, what we call the three-legged stool of training elite performance. You're training your craft, you're training your body, and you're training your mind. So that's the three-legged stool. That's where we start as a foundation. Mindset is really important. Now, how do you train your mental game? How do you train your mindset? So oftentimes there are many, many, many different ways to begin this process. But here at MPGA, we really focus on simplicity. Now, I'm going to share a story. And this webinar, this class is oftentimes just me kind of sharing. This is how these live classes go, where I'm going to be teaching you a whole bunch of stuff that you can learn. At the end of our time, I'm going to open it up and we're going to go into Q&A, things that you want to talk about, things that you have questions about. But right now, I'm just going to go into teaching mode. So bear with me. Now, I used to play a lot of golf. I played Division I college. I played professionally overseas. And I was working with a coach. He's a really well-known coach. He used to coach Sari Park. He coached Paige McKenzie, Andrew Putnam, Michael Putnam. So a lot of great players. And he lived all the way in Washington, Seattle. And I would travel to just go meet him and get lessons from him. Now, he became more than a coach. He became my mentor, my spiritual mentor, and my mentor in life. His name is Joe Thiel. And Joe, if you're watching this, big kudos and shout out to you and all the work that you've done with me and on me. So Joe and I, we talk a lot about the mental game. He works with world-class athletes and he picks my brain and I pick his brain. Do you know what we're trying to wrestle with these days? Simplicity. How to keep it so stupid simple when a competitive golfer goes out there on the course where it allows them to not overthink their process. It allows them to feel freed up and restrictionless. So completely playing by letting go. We're trying to come up with something so simple where they're not even thinking. They're not conscious. They're actually playing unconsciously. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever experienced that? Have you ever experienced playing golf where you just turned this off? You were in flow. You trusted. You were in a trance. And then the moment you caught yourself being in this flow, you snapped out of it and you're trying your best to get into it. How can we assist in helping you get into flow and play subconsciously more often? It's not easy to achieve, right? Your craft has to be dialed down. Your body needs to be good. You got to be well rested and your mental game needs to be on. Everything has to be in sync. But the more we try to force it, the more we try to make something happen, a lot of times, the harder it gets to get in flow. Flow is a byproduct of you just doing and committing to being in the moment, you doing your process really well. Flow happens, not by force, but by letting go and surrender and acceptance. But how do you do that in golf, right? Golf is a very, very challenging sport where it requires so much thinking. And now at an elite level, we're asking you not to think. How do you do that? How do you trust yourself enough where you can just react to your targets and focus on how you want things to go and just let go? It's not easy. There's something called mantras. You probably have heard of it. Mantras are words or phrases that you can use to help you get into a state, into a physical and a mental and also an emotional state. Mantras can be anywhere like effortless power. It could mean stay in the moment, be where your feet are, get to neutral. These phrases not only remind us to do something technically or mentally, these phrases also help us feel something. Now, a lot of times mantras, when we practice mantras, we're thinking a lot. Okay, what's that mantra? What do I have to say? Okay, get in the moment. And you're thinking about getting in the moment. But mantras should also put you in an emotional state as well as the cognitive. It should mean something to you. So here's a mantra that my coach and I, Joe Thiel, that I told you about earlier, we're trying to come up with something so simple, but it allows people to get into a certain state. And that mantra that I want to introduce to you all is called one. One. It's just one word, and it's one mantra. But what does it mean? What does it stand for? I'm going to share it with you. I wrote a news article about it, and I wanted to unpack it and wrestle with it, with the community, with you all. So we'll start with O. O stands for own the moment. Owning the moment. Now, what does that mean? Owning the moment. Well, when you're playing golf, what do you think about? When you're going out there and playing competitive golf, what are some of your thoughts that impact you and that get in the way of you playing your best golf? Many times people say, I have really high expectations, or I'm thinking about my score, my results. I'm thinking about other people and competitors. You're everywhere but here. Owning the moment is being so focused and intentional of being in the moment. This moment is all you got, right in front of you. Now, here's a great story. I was coaching an LPGA Tour player, and she struggled with par fives. Long hitter, great player. And every time she came up with, facing a easy par five where it's gettable, where she can easily make a birdie or an eagle because of her length, she would make mistakes. She would make, pars or bogeys, and her stats on these easy par fives were not that great. And so we started talking about this, and we started exchanging calls and really dialing it down. What's happening mentally? What's happening emotionally when you're faced with these easy, gettable holes? What we found was that there was so much expectation on results. Because it was easy, because it was gettable, she had expectations that she was going to birdie those automatically. Whenever she stepped up on the tee, she had this pressure of saying, I have to birdie. I have to get one back here. She was already broadcasting her thoughts into the future. I have to make a birdie, results, outcome. Now, owning the moment has nothing to do with score. Owning the moment is all about this shot right in front of you. You got to be here, not thinking about your next move 2 steps ahead, not thinking about how you're going to make a birdie and get one back on this hole. Owning the moment is letting go of that and staying right in this moment. We're going to go to the next, which is N. N stands for nothing to prove. Nothing to prove. What do you mean, Dr. Matt? I have so much to prove. There's so much on me, so many expectations. My parents, my coaches, my teammates, they're all expecting me to play. Myself, I trained so hard. I have to go out there and prove myself. I see a lot of players at the highest caliber struggling with this. I see them really struggling with trying to prove their value and their worth. Now, what I often say with all my golfers that I work with, golf is what you do. It's not who you are. Golf is a game. It's a little white ball that you're trying to get into a hole with as little many strokes or few strokes as possible. It's not your identity. Now, if you win a tournament, it doesn't mean you're a better person. If you miss a cut and get dead last, it doesn't mean you're less of a person. A lot of us, we put so much identity on results and performance. Many times our parents, and if you're a parent, we unintentionally put a lot of pressure on our children. We get happy when they play really well. We get really mad and upset when they're playing poorly. And so young children start developing an identity based on performance. My worth is based on performance. Now, if you can understand and go out there focusing on this mantra of nothing to prove. I have nothing to prove other than just having fun, playing my best, but I'm not going to try to play for the expectations of others. What I've noticed in my players is that it opens them up to play freely. I was working with a Corn Ferry Tour player. This was about a year and a half ago, where they had the putting yips. And during this process, there was so much pressure that they were a professional golfer that they couldn't miss a short putt. I'm a professional golfer. I should always make these putts. And that tightened his muscles, and it really brought a lot of anxiety into his stroke. He got super tense every time he stroked a putt because of the expectation and this title, this identity of being a professional golfer. I'm a professional golfer, therefore, I don't make any mistakes. I can't show any kind of vulnerability or mistakes. And this really got him into the experience of yips. Now, how did we work through it? We came up with this whole mantra of nothing to prove. And the way that he channeled this mantra was, it's okay to make mistakes. That's all he said. Right before a putt, he told himself, it's okay to make mistakes. I'm human. I'm bound to make mistakes. Even as a professional golfer, even as the number one golfer in the world, Scottie Scheffler, right now, he says, I focus so much on executing my shot that sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But it is what it is. I just focus on trying to execute my shot, the best of my ability. He has nothing to prove. He's not trying to prove his worth by being number one. He's not trying to prove how much money he makes or him being the top ranked golfer or trying to beat Tiger's record. He's not after all that stuff. Now, why is he so consistent in winning? Like, he's on a streak right now. Scottie Scheffler is on a streak that we haven't seen since Tiger Woods. And how is he able to keep up with this pressure? It's because he has nothing to prove. He's freed himself up. He gives himself permission to go out there and just play his best golf. The last acronym of the word in the mantra one is E. E stands for executing for the audience of one. What does that mean? Executing for the audience of one. It ties in very directly to nothing to prove. Now, I'm a spiritual person. Many of you on this call and in the academy might have different beliefs, and that's completely fine. But a lot of my players have a strong faith-based belief. Their audience of one is God. They play to honor God. Now, a lot of times, if you have a higher purpose, if you have something that you're playing for that's beyond your identity and beyond you, if you're playing for an audience of one, not for the commentators, not for the spectators, not for your parents, not for your coaches, but you're playing for someone bigger, like God, all of a sudden things are put into perspective. You're in a mindset of gratitude, thanking God for what's right in front of you, thanking God for the opportunity to just be here, to be able to be healthy enough to compete and play. And anytime I feel joy, anytime I'm having fun and I'm having a good attitude, I know I'm pleasing God. Now, your audience of one might be different. It could be not even a person or a higher being, but it could be playing for joy, playing for happiness, playing for your higher self. My audience of one that transcends the expectations of everyone is just going out there and seeing how happy I can play. We all have to find something, that one thing that is beyond golf, that is more than just a number on a scorecard, because our identity is much bigger than that. I know many of you inside the academy, or even friends who are on this call, many of you are so wrapped up in your identity based on the number that you shoot. You cannot separate it. If that's you, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to help you separate your identity from your score. When you start there, when you can say golf is what I do, it's not who I am. I'm much bigger than golf. I have great friends that love me no matter what I shoot. I have people that support me, and they could care less if I play golf or not. In our mind, we create stories and say, this is my everything. I live and die by this. I breathe golf. And if I don't play well, then I'm not accepted. I'm not loved. I'm not enough. The acronym ONE is to be able to disprove that belief, is to break free from that belief, that limiting belief. You are enough. You have nothing to prove. You own the moment. Be here right now. And focus on just playing for a higher self, a higher being. Play for God. Play for an audience of one. Because he could care less about how you shoot. He loves you. He can't love you anymore, can't love you any less. That's why when we are able to kind of play for something bigger than ourselves, then we can start separating our identity from our score and our results. And the reason why I'm sharing all this is because time and time again, after working with elite athletes, the more that you can free yourself up from the bond of your score, your identity as a professional golfer or collegiate golfer or elite junior golfer, if you can free yourself up from the chains of those identities and you allow yourself to make mistakes, you allow yourself to free up and have fun, you give yourself permission to go out there and own the moment, regardless of what happens. This is where you get into flow. This is where you show up and play your best golf. This is why the acronym ONE, whenever you say the word one, it needs to feel something. You need to get into this emotional state. So I'm going to share some reflective questions. I usually do this for my students, and I'm going to share it with you, and we're going to kind of wrestle with it, okay? And then I'm going to open it up for questions. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll wrestle with these questions together, okay? So, and by the way, if you want a copy of this, these reflective questions, just so you can dive deeper, just email me, info@mpgagolf.com, and I'll send them to you. So, own the moment. Owning the moment is about focus. It's about presence, and it's about intentionality, right? Being intentional with every thought that you have, with every movement you make, of being present. So here are a list of some questions I just want you to reflect on, to think about, okay? When was the last time you were fully present during the high pressure moment? Think about that. Think about how it felt. When was the last time you experienced that? Number two, what distracts you most when you're trying to stay in the moment? When you're trying to own the moment and try to be present where your feet are at, what gets in the way sometimes? What distracts you? Three, what would change in your performance if you trusted yourself to just own each shot one at a time? What do you think would change if you trusted yourself to just be shot by shot, owning the shot one at a time? And that's how you play golf. How do you reset when the moment slips away? So you remember what I told you? Being in flow, like you can be in this trance and not thinking. And all of a sudden you're thinking about not thinking. Oh my gosh, I'm in flow, and you're out of it. How do you reset to get back into owning the moment when the moment slips away? What do you do? Are you playing the moment right in front of you? Or are you playing a story from the past? Or are you playing a fear of the future? Where are you? In the moment? In the past? Or in the future? Think about that each time you step into a shot. The next is nothing to prove. Nothing to prove is about confidence. It's about freedom and self-worth. Here's a list of questions. Who are you trying to impress when you're on or off the course? Who are you trying to impress when you're playing golf? Think about it. What would it feel like to compete without needing validation? What's the cost of playing to prove something? What is it costing you? Does it get in the way? And if so, how, right? Can you name a time when you performed your best because you didn't care who was watching? Is there ever a time you played and you played really well because you just didn't care who was watching you, or you had nothing to prove? And lastly, if you believed you had nothing to prove, how would that change your decisions and your body language? Just think about it. All right, the last one, execute for the audience of one. This is about purpose. It's a deeper meaning, right? It's about identity. It's about integrity. Straight up question, who is your audience of one? Now, for me and for a lot of my players, it's God. It doesn't have to be God for you. But who is your audience of one? What does it mean for you to play for something deeper than approval or outcome? And lastly, when you step onto the course, whose voice is loudest in your head? And who should it be? Who do you want it to be? So these are just some reflective questions. If you want to take a picture of it, or if you want a copy of it, again, info@mpgagolf.com, and I'll send it right over to you. But I am going to, I'm going to open it up now for anyone who's on the call to just chime in, ask questions, and anything you want to, discuss or ask. Curious what came up for you during our time together so far.
Dr. Matt,
Hey, Gabe.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I really like when you brought up the play in subconscious mind
Mhm.
because there's many times where people play their best when just not thinking of anything. Like just suddenly they just like hit a shot and like, oh, I didn't even notice I hit that shot. It just goes right off the flag. There's a lot of moments like that, and I've experienced moments like that before, but not many times. It's probably just like one or twice.
Mhm.
And I want to know how do I play in my subconscious mind even in like under pressure situation, because like your mind is so active, and like you can't really play in your subconscious mind when your mind is like super active, right?
Right, right. Yeah. Now think about this, Gabe. So when you were playing subconsciously where you were overthinking and it was in those moments where it was high pressure, think about what your focus was on. And was there a time, Gabe, that you don't mind sharing? When was the last time you ever experienced flow like that? Just being not thinking, being completely in the moment. When was that for you?
Um, the one that I remember is the one when I played the Asian tour, when I played really good there, when I finished the top 10 in there.
Uh-huh.
I was just, I didn't even remember hitting any of the shots. I just like blacked out, I guess. It's just like I hit a ball and then look over and just, oh, next to the pin. I hit a putt. Like I didn't even know I hit the putt, and it's like, oh, it went in the hole. So I really want to tap in back to that kind of moment, because since I play in Oregon, like there's so much like pressure on my back, and then every time I play, just I think that my conscious mind is so active. And yeah, even though like when I'm hitting it great on driving range, I go in the course, I think just my conscious mind just take over. I want to like have the flow when I play, even though if I'm like under pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
and my coach also talk a lot about being in the present and play with your subconscious mind, because my coach is really big on that too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Now the $1 million question is how do I get in it, right? And how do I access it? And if you think about that time, I think it was back in what 2024, the Asian tour, where you you got the lowest ranked amateur that time, right? And
Yeah.
and it was your professional event. There was a lot of it was televised. Everybody was coming out. It was in your home turf, and there was so much attention on you. But how did you experience blocking everything out where you weren't even aware? You hit your shot and, oh, by the way, it's by the hole. You hit your putt, oh, it went in, but you weren't even focused on score, the people, impressing others. And the question is, what were you focused on? And if you really think about that, that's owning the moment. I think you were just so caught up in the moment where you were dialed in on your number. You were just going through your process and you were so focused where you weren't accessing your conscious, what we call prefrontal cortex right here. When your prefrontal cortex gets activated, you're thinking. That's where your critical cognitive thinking gets really, um, you know, it's very active, right? And it's hard to shut that off. One of the things that they strongly recommend when your prefrontal cortex is active, when your mind is racing, and you have so many thoughts competing against each other, breath work, staying doing some type of thought that gets you in the moment, breathing, counting, appreciations, things that can bring you back into this current moment state. People start doing a sensing activity. So a lot of my players, I teach them the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right now, in this moment, if your prefrontal cortex is going active, saying, "Okay, man, my swing's not feeling that great. I hook a couple shots in the back. I have to really get on my left side. I'm right on the cut line." Everything is about in the past or in the future. You're not, you're trying to force something being in the moment, but you're really not in the moment. How do you get in the moment? Before trying to get into flow, you have to really get in the moment. You have to own the moment. So
Yeah.
the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise is simply, okay, what are 5 things that I see right now that are green? And I actively try to search for things. Why am I doing this? Is because I'm trying to distract the mind, this prefrontal cortex, from overriding my system. And I'm using my senses to get me in the present moment. And then I say, okay, 4 things that I hear. I close my eyes and I use my senses that I don't often hear. I don't use my hearing that often intentionally. So I close my eyes and I say, okay, I hear the carts in the background. I hear someone rattling their golf club. I hear the wind. I hear people clapping on the other green. I hear cleats on the cement, walking these golf shoes. Uh, I hear some ducks in the background. So what am I doing? I'm using senses that I don't often use to bring me in the moment. And then 3 things that I can touch. What do I feel right now? Maybe I touch the tees and I really feel the tees in my pocket. I wiggle my toes in my shoes and I feel my socks. Maybe I lean down and I feel the weight of my shoes pressing against the ground. Those are the three things that and then 2 things that I smell. I smell hot dogs. I don't know. I smell grass. And then 1 thing that I taste. I taste, my granola bar that I ate, right? So all that, and I do it quickly to get me grounded in the moment. And then I get really intentional of owning the moment, executing shot by shot. What's my next move? What can I do right now? I feel my grip. I'm looking at my target. I'm not overthinking. I'm just being right here in the present moment, letting go of the outcome, letting go of the result of the shot, but bringing myself back to this moment of executing the shot. I'm not going to jump ahead to the result of the shot. I'm going to stay with this moment of executing the shot. That's all I got. So I'm not getting ahead of myself. I haven't even hit the shot yet, and I'm already thinking about the outcome. I can't do that. I got to bring myself back, and I got to focus on doing everything in my power to give it my best execution. And you do this consistently. You practice that. You bring yourself into the moment by breathing or senses activity or gratitude. And then you refocus on staying right here, doing everything you can to execute the shot to the best of your ability.
Yeah, that's good. I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you take from that, Gabe?
Is I really like the way that you said find 5 things that just activate all your senses. Because when I try to get to my subconscious mind, I like try so hard to use my subconscious brain, which is like I'm trying so hard, but like if I'm trying hard, that means that I'm using my conscious mind.
Right.
So I feel like bringing back into the moment, like just stay in the present by feeling all your senses. I think that's a good way to start because when you do that, you shut down your brain and only think about what you taste, smell, see, touch, and yeah,
Yeah. So Gabe, remember this. The harder you try, the harder it is.
yeah. I think that's the key right there. Because when I was playing on the Asian tour, like even though there's so many people watching. Like I know I'm doing good, and then I know like I'm playing my best right now, and no one's like, if I hit a bad shot, it doesn't really matter because I know that I'm playing my best right now, and people probably think that I'm
Yeah.
playing pretty good too,
Yeah.
something like that.
So this is for anyone who's listening right now. Do you ever get a time when uh, you're about to say something and somebody cuts you off and you're listening to them, and then now it's your turn to talk, but you completely forgot what you're about to say? Has that ever happened to you? Now, it happens to me all the time. Now, what do? Sometimes I use my prefrontal cortex and my conscious mind to try to think about what I was trying to say. I try to think about it. Oh my gosh, what was I trying to say? It's right there. What was it? What was it? What was it? I'm trying so hard to find and fish for that thought. But when does it come back to me? When does it usually come back to you? Is when you distract yourself, when you stop fighting to try to search for it, when you're trying so hard to find it and you let go. Go, okay, if it was important enough, it will come back. I'm just going to let it go. And you carry on your conversation. You're not even thinking about that thought anymore. You you forgot about it. You left it, and all of a sudden it comes, right? Oh yeah, I remember. And then you dive right in. I don't know if that ever happened to you. I mean, that's something I experience all the time. Now, how am I relating this to golf? The harder you try, the harder it is. Now, all of us try to force ourselves to make birdie. A lot of us try to force ourselves to get into flow. You can't force flow. Flow is a byproduct of you doing the moment really, really well and executing the moment and being with the moment. Own the moment. Believe that you have nothing to prove. You can make mistakes to free yourself up, right? And figure out who you're playing for. Play for something bigger than you. That frees you up. Your identity is not just in golf, right? When you can free yourself up, that's when you start locking in to experience more of that flow and playing subconsciously. That's the goal. Golf is all about freeing yourself up and playing subconscious, not thinking, not overthinking. It has to be simple. You got to go out there and trust yourself. You have to go out there and let go. Trust in your training, trust in your mantras, trust in your workouts and your preparation, and go out there and play. Have fun. Enjoy the moment. You got nothing to prove, no expectations. Just execute every moment with excellence. And the more you can do that consistently and repetitively, that's when you experience flow. You're not going to find it by trying to force it or go after it. You find it by doing the little things consistently over time. Stay patient, stay consistent, and you will experience more and more flow. Scotty Scheffler doesn't chase after it. He doesn't try to force being in that state. He just focuses on executing this one moment to the best of his ability. If it's a 56-yard shot, he just tries to execute that one shot, whether he's has a 3-shot lead at the Masters or whether he's playing a practice round with Ted. He's in the moment. He's just trying to play the game and execute with excellence. Other thoughts, other questions? All right. So this was just kind of an example of us going live. We teach once a month, and our topic is ever changing, but it's all about the mental game. The 3 things that you got to focus on: craft, keep working hard out there on the range and on the short game area, but practice with purpose, right? Practice and mix it up with block practice, meaning your technique and just kind of honing down the consistency of your technique, but also switch it up and do play practice where you take one ball and you go around the chipping green and you try to get up and down. You play 9 holes and see what you can score. So mix it up a little bit, not just hitting ball after ball after ball, right? So purposeful practice is really important to get your craft down. Work on your body, keep working on staying healthy and flexible and agile, because it's only going to help you. And lastly, your mind. Focus on training your mind. We got a ton of resources. And again, if you want those questions, just email me or reach out to me. I'll shoot them over to you. This recording will be available in our MPGA Academy, portal. So if you have any other questions or thoughts, we'll present the next theme next month, and it'll be a good one. So I hope you gained some knowledge for what you can practice. Maybe even if you just took one thing from this conversation, I hope you can practice with intention. And just remember, 1, own the moment. You got nothing to prove. And execute with excellence for the audience of 1. Good luck to you, and we'll see you around. Cheers.